everyone to Courageous Conversations, where we help women in leadership and women in business just be inspired to go further and faster than they've ever gone before by hearing inspirational stories such as Val Armstrong's, which we'll hear tonight. And I mean, when I say I can't wait, I can't wait. For those of you who do not know me, my name is Melissa J. Nixon. I am an executive leadership and business coach. I am the founder of the Courageous Life Academy, where we do just that. We help women to grow faster and stronger and better in their careers and businesses. So I am super excited. I started Courageous Conversations because I really just wanted a platform. And if you're listening tonight, by all means, please share this with your friends and family and timeline for anyone that you know could be inspired by Val's story. But I started Courageous Conversations, just a platform show via social media to be able to present to you women that are in my network and in my circle that have just taken amazing risk in their careers and in their businesses to get to where they are, and to share that, you know what, not only did I do it, but she did it and she did it and she did it, and you can too. The sky is truly the limit. I know we always talk about glass ceilings and we can't get so far and there's only so many women in leadership, and I get that conversation, but I also know that I want to create my own life for myself. And so wherever there's a ceiling, I got to find a way to break it. I got to find a way around it. I got to find a way through it, whatever that looks like. So I hope that you were encouraged tonight, but I want to introduce to you Val Armstrong. She is not only probably, I probably shouldn't say this, but the best client that I've ever had. But she is the president of Tennessee American Water. And for those of you that may not be familiar with American Water, they are the largest privately owned water company in the country. I just want to drop the mic right there. And she leads the entire state of Tennessee. And so what is so amazing about her story, which we'll talk about, is how she got to that role. Starting literally when we met, she was on the front lines of HR. Now she leads budgets of millions of dollars and gazillions of people, and out there, the face of the company. So Val, thank you so much for being here tonight and sharing your story with us.
Well, thank you, Melissa. Oh my gosh, I'm just gonna take you around with me. I am just.
Hey, I will be your hype man. I'll be your hype woman.
Well, you got me hyped up tonight. So thank you for having me, and I am just so excited as I'm seeing my Chattanooga ladies and Cleveland and Tennessee ladies logging on and watching tonight. So welcome everybody, not just from Tennessee and Chattanooga, but just from wherever you are. I'm looking forward to sharing a little bit about myself, as much as you want to know about me, in hopes that I can be an inspiration to you. I don't know, I'm just so excited. So thank you, Melissa, for the opportunity. And it has just been a pleasure over the last several years to work with you, but even far back as when our careers crossed paths at Food Lion at another juncture in our lives. And I'm just so pleased to be on this journey and to have you by my side. So thank you.
Oh, wow. You are so welcome. You are so welcome. So let's start in the beginning. Now, your background is in human resources, and literally when I say you were on the front lines of HR, you were on the front lines of HR and you grew your HR career. But just tell us about the beginning stage and phase and how you got into HR, and then how you started to grow in that particular aspect, that phase of your career.
Sure, I'd love to do that. I actually started my career out with Food Lion, which is a grocery chain. And I worked there through college. I worked part-time. I got moved into a full-time bookkeeper position. I was going to college full-time. I was majoring in business, kind of with an emphasis in accounting. So when I graduated, my goal was to be somebody's accountant somewhere. And I realized just kind of later on throughout my time while I was working in college that I just loved working with people. I loved just kind of getting to know people, the different people that came into the store. And so I didn't know that I would be able to be in that CPA behind the computer day in and day out type of a position. Whereas I love dealing with numbers, and I still do. I love numbers. But I applied for a job in the training department for Food Line,
Mm-hmm.
and didn't have really any experience. I just kind of stepped out on faith and on a whim. And, you know, they gave me the job. They offered me the job fresh out of college. I literally had not even graduated yet. I was about 2 weeks away from graduation. And they offered me a position to be a full-time trainer for front-end cashiers and bookkeepers and customer service managers. And they were going to move me from where I was. I went to Georgia Southern University. And it was in Statesboro, Georgia, which was close to home for me. And I was going to get to relocate up, not to the big Atlanta, which is where I really wanted to be, but it was a little bit outside of Atlanta. It was probably about 30 minutes south of Atlanta. And I loved that position. I traveled throughout the state of Georgia, and I got to meet so many people just going to the different areas of Georgia, north, south, east, west, and training individuals to be in customer service manager positions. I'll tell you, I actually had my first experience driving through Atlanta in that position, and I thought I was going to have a heart attack.
Right.
At this point in my life, I was probably like 21 years old. I had never drove through Atlanta. I'm out here just trying to do my thing, and I just had God with me really along the way. And after about 2 years, I came at a crossroads in my life, kind of where a lot of us have been, you know, in our lives, where I wanted to do something different with my career. I married my high school sweetheart. He and I were only married for a year, and then we went through a divorce. And I was just wanting to find Valerie after that. So what I ended up doing after that is I applied for some positions within Food Line. One was in our diversity and inclusion department. Another was in our auditing department, because I thought, well, maybe I can do something with my numbers background in auditing. And you know what? Once again, they offered me a position. I was offered a job in the diversity and inclusion department that I really didn't have a big background in. And they relocated me up here to Tennessee. So I lived in Knoxville for about a year. And that in itself was kind of a breakthrough opportunity for me to be able to see, what is it that Valerie is able to do away from her comfort zone? And I stepped out on faith, and God truly led me. He opened so many doors for me when I relocated up here to a state that I'd never been in before, where I had never met people before. And it was a great opportunity. It was short-lived. For those that have worked with Food Line went through a lot of changes over the years. So after about a year in that position, the position was eliminated. Food Line went through a really big downsizing. My job was eliminated. So I found myself out of a job. I didn't know what I was going to do at that point. I was in Knoxville, didn't really know anybody. And once again, God and my faith, everything just kind of superseded where I was at that point in my life. And I got a call from the HR director at the time. His name was James Mack. And James asked if I was interested in HR. And after I thought about it for a minute, I was like, well, you know, HR kind of deals with all the negative stuff in the company. I don't know. But I'm like, well, shoot, girl, you ain't got no job. Get your life together. You need
Look, you're not going to be no whole food. Not a whole food.
Yes. So I actually, I applied for the job. And once again, I just have to give all thanks to God. They offered me the position to come into HR. Wow. And I had the opportunity to either come to Chattanooga, Tennessee, to go to Fredericksburg, Virginia, or Jacksonville, Florida. And I said, you know, Lord, my heart is leading me here to Chattanooga. And so in 2002, I relocated here to Chattanooga, which is where I am today. And I know we'll talk more about what came after that. But that's where my career started in human resources. And I loved it. Hands down, I just love HR. I love meeting people. My brain is always working and overtime. So I enjoyed the aspect of coming in and conducting an investigation and being able to be there to resolve an issue for an employee or within management, and just being able to kind of see all of that transpire. So tremendous amount of growth for me over the next, from 2002 to about 2011, that I stayed in that HR position.
Wow. Wow. So, first of all, there are just so many nuggets, even in the first phase of your career, of every juncture point you got to, you ask questions like, well, what does Val want? Who is she now? I know I don't have experience in this, but let me go ahead and try it anyway. I mean, there's so many takeaways just from that segment that led you to, from 2000. I think it said 2002 to 2011 or something
Yes.
like that. I forget
Yes.
the time frame. So just also, I want to let people know, if you have questions, we are going to answer those questions throughout the evening. So feel free to post below, and Val will answer anything that you want. But so you had this great career in HR, and over those years, you started to find out more about yourself. You started to find out, you know what? This is what I like. This is who I am. This is how I lead. Like, I see some bigger things for me. I see some bigger things for me. And so many of us get to that juncture point where we're like, okay, I see it. Now, not only do I see it, but I have the boldness to go after it. So I'm going to go after it. So why don't you pick up the story from there, where you are ready to now elevate in your career because you have all of this experience. Now you're ready to lead people, lead more people, you're ready to just lead in a bigger role. And what happens?
So I want to tell a little bit of a story before I answer that question, Melissa. And you know about my journey. So I want to talk about the experience that I had outside of Food Lion, where I feel like God just continued to test Valerie and to push me beyond my limits. While I was here in Chattanooga, I began working with NAACP, which is a nonprofit organization. And at the age of 26, and it was only God who led me to say, yes, and answer the call to run for president of the largest historically Black organization here in Chattanooga. And I was elected president at the age of 26. So I was a female. I was the youngest president that they had ever had in that role. And it was a volunteer position. And I believe that in itself, kind of hands down, Melissa, prepared me for so much more that was to come in my career. The challenges that I endured in that role of being president, the people that I had the pleasure to get to know and to work with, because truly at that point, when you're volunteering, you're having to bribe people and get people to do stuff because they're not getting paid for this. So the
like, we'll work for food. We'll work for food.
The skill of persuasion really came into play there. And also it allowed me to deal with challenges within the community. The challenges that the African-American and minority women community kind of went through here. And it pushed me beyond my limits and stretched me beyond ways that I never knew that I would be stretched in my life. And I'm so thankful to God for that journey. And the most important thing that came out of that is he allowed me to meet my loving husband, Lawrence, who was also president of the NAACP in Cleveland, which is the neighboring city here. And so he and I were kind of on this journey and this path together. And I don't want that to be lost, because there's a lot of things that God has allowed me to be able to do throughout my career. But without Lawrence by my side and just supporting me along the way and encouraging me along the way, I would not be able to be kind of at this point, and us together being able to be here. So I wanted to kind of talk about that, because that kind of catapults us into 2011. I'm at that point in my career with Food Lion, and I just want something different. You know, I've applied for, at that time, I had applied for 4 different supervisory positions within the HR arena, and I was not given the opportunity. I was never really told, well, Valerie, you need to do this, or Valerie, you need to do that in order to get this position. I was just told that we wanted somebody else to have it. And so I had to pray about it. I had to think about a company that I'd been with for 15 years. Do I want to leave this organization, start fresh, and do something new? And after conversations with Lawrence and myself and praying about it, I said, yes, this is what I'm being led to do. So I put some fillers out there in the community. And this goes back to that aspect of knowing people and networking and just keeping your circle very open. And so I put some fillers out there for, hey, my friends, do you know of anybody that's hiring for an HR position? If you do, let me know. And I did. I had one of my great friends, Donna Harrison, who shared with me that she knew that there was a position that was going to be coming at Tennessee American Water, an HR position that she had heard about. And I said, well, let me check. I know somebody who works there. So I reached out to him, and lo and behold, yes, that position was open. I applied for it. Lord have mercy. I think I went through 50 interviews, and they finally, I said, they don't hire me for this position. I'm going to invoice them for my time. So, but again, God is good.
What, look, Val, why do you sound like Auntie Maxine talking about, you know, I want my time back?
Tell me about it. And so I applied. They offered me the job, and it was just the best decision that I made career-wise at that point in my life, up until that point. And so I was in the HR. I was actually hired in as an HR manager. And 2 years later, my role kind of expanded. I applied for an HR director position, and this was, fast forward now, we're in 2013. And
so really quick, before you go into 2013, I need people, whether you are watching live or watching the replay, to catch what happened. So she was literally on her grind, doing her thing in HR, growing as a leader, both not only at work, but in the community. So she had this parallel track. She was being developed on all sides. And then it comes time to, you know what? I feel like there's something more, but she didn't just take no for an answer. So she tried again. The answer was no again. And she tried, I believe it was like 3 times, right? She tried again. I don't know if I was supposed to say that, but but it was a matter of I'm trying. And so here's the thing. Everyone may not see or understand your value. They may not see where you see yourself going, or either where God knows that he's destined you to be. Either way, if they don't see it, you have to give yourself permission to walk away from any organization that you love. And say, I'm willing to go and do something different because I know there's something more for me. This is the place that so many people get stuck. I can't say it is the place that so many people get stuck. So she had a ceiling. There was a ceiling that she could have said, I can't get any further. The answer is no. It's no, and it's no, and it's okay. This is where I'm going to be. Life is good. I'm comfortable. I love what I do. I love the company. And she could have stayed there and literally retired with great bonuses and everything else. But sometimes it's not about your comfort and where you are. It's about where you know you're supposed to be. And so she was able to say, I'm willing to take a risk and start all over after 15 years. And then she lands up at this amazing company called Tennessee American Water. So now you done had these 50 interviews. They didn't have to bill you for your time because now you got a salary with them and everything. So pick up from there how your career, this is the good part. So if you're listening, if you haven't shared this yet, you need to just call your best friend, your grandmother, everybody, because this is where God just shows up. So go ahead, Val. Go ahead.
And he does. He really does show up. And Portia, you just made a point of talking about knowing your value. And that's something that I talk to women and individuals about that are kind of in their career and they're looking to grow, is know your value. Know what you're worth. And don't allow someone to tell you that what you bring to the table is not enough. And so that's why it's so important for you to invest in yourself. Don't allow for someone else to say, well, you're not worth this, and devalue you. And another thing that I share with people is don't expect for someone to invest in you when you're not willing to invest in yourself. So put that money to the side, go back to school, get your master's degree, go out there and get that certification or that license that you've been thinking about. Continue to read and just educate yourself as much as you can. There's never enough learning that you can do to continue to grow. And so, and for me, so in 2013, I am again in my HR manager role. At this point, I'm HR manager for Tennessee American Water and for Kentucky American Water. And this opportunity just out of nowhere came. Our director of HR, she was at that point in her career where she was looking to retire. She got pulled into a special project, and the director of HR role for our Central Division states, which was 7 states, was posted. And I was like, oh my God, this is the job that I have wanted and I've worked so long for my career. And then the other side of it was, well, it's not in Tennessee, Dorothy. It's in St. Louis. So I had to talk with Lawrence about it, and he and I had some in-depth conversations around this huge opportunity for me and what that meant for us in our marriage. He again supported me along the way. I applied for the HR director position, and thank God and all blessings to God that I was offered that job. And within a month, I am in St. Louis at the end of November with my husband, who is griping and complaining because it's so cold and we're looking for an apartment. And this is the kicker, everybody. My husband wasn't going to relocate with me. He stayed here in Chattanooga, and I was relocating to St. Louis, and we were just going to be a commuter husband and wife. We did not know for how long. We just knew that this was a blessing that God had put in front of us, and for me, that I wanted for so long. And so at that point, I jumped off into my HR director position. I relocated over to St. Louis, and now I am leading a group of 11 HR professionals, labor relations, employee relations professionals, HR recruiters. I have HR responsibilities for 7 states: Missouri, Indiana, Illinois, Iowa, Tennessee, Michigan, Kentucky. And I am just like living the life. But you know what? I was still at that point where I said, I need to invest in me. I need to invest in Valerie. And I've been wanting to go back to school and get my master's degree for a long time. So I made the decision.
So you like to skip over all the good. You like to skip over all the good stuff. Okay. So two things. One, you took this role and you and your husband had to have a conversation about, one, will you take it? And two, how is this going to work? And again, you'd reached this juncture point and you said, both of you said, actually, let's do it. Let's do it. We're willing to be in a commuter situation for a little while, not knowing how long. The thing that I want people to take away is, what are you willing to do? Are you going to sit and complain about where you're at in your career, what people won't give you, what people won't do for you, or what will you do for yourself? And so Val could have stayed where she was, but she took a risk and she took a leap and said, you know what, baby, we're going to St. Louis. And her honey said, we're going to St. Louis. And they started that journey. So that's one that I want you to realize, is that what are you willing to do? And it's not for everybody. It's not for everybody, but it was for the Armstrongs, I should say. I was going to call him his first name. It was for the Armstrongs at that season of their life. The other thing that I need you to hear is that she did not wait to say, I'm going to apply once I go back to school and once I finish. That this was, at that point in time, the job of her dreams. She had wanted to be able to lead multiple states, lead multiple HR leaders for I don't even know how long. She could have said, you know what? I don't have my master's degree yet. I'm not qualified for it. I have so many. Ooh, y'all get on my nerves with this. Conversations with women that are leaders, just in general, that say, I need to do this before I can do this. And it's not true. And the thing that I love about what you said, Val, is that you did it for you. You didn't say, I needed to do it to get this job. You said, I want to grow myself. So now I'm ready to go back to school. So keep going with the story.
All right. Well, so that was a big leap for me, because I was in a new state, a new city, a new job. And now I am going back to school online. So again, big life decisions. I talked with Lawrence about it. I said, I'm ready. We're going to jump out here on it, because that's going to be a huge commitment to go back to grad school. And as always, he was extremely, extremely supportive of that. So while I'm in St. Louis, trying to just establish myself in this role, get to know my team, doing the best that I can to be the best leader that I am, I started school at Villanova University, and it was online. And it was an HR, it was a master's in human resources development. So it was a pretty aggressive program. It was one that you had a full commitment to, where you had to log into class literally every week, once a week. And you literally spent 2 hours with your class and your professor. And it was a huge commitment for those 8 weeks, and it was every class. So I made that commitment. So I'm like making my schedule, work around these classes. I'm traveling, I'm at hotels. And Melissa, I think at one point you and I was talking, I was like, I got to go to school. So it was just so much, but I was determined. And after really, it took me 3 years to get the degree, because fast forward a little bit more, I was in my role as an HR director for 2 years there in St. Louis. So 2015 rolls around and it's November. I don't know what it is about these November, December months, but I get a call from the COO of our company, and he asked me if I am interested in an opportunity to come back to Tennessee. And I'm thinking, oh yes, what does that look like? Coming back home to Chattanooga to be with my husband? I would love that. And he said, what do you think about being president of Tennessee American Water?
Did your heart stop?
Yeah.
You were like, wait, what?
Just like right now. I'm like, oh, okay. So let me think about this. But it's in every other life decision. I said, let me talk with my husband about it. And I said, thank you for the opportunity. This is something that is so far beyond anything that I ever, and I get emotional when I talk about this, because you know, you ladies and guys out there, I'm just this young girl from southern rural part of Georgia that God has taken me so many places in my life that I never imagined for myself. So that moment was just so surreal for me to get that call and to have that conversation. And so I talked to Lawrence that night, and he was like, whoa, okay, yes, you coming back home. I said, hold up now, I'm coming back home, but it ain't no HR director position. This is president of the company. I said, so it's a lot of responsibility that comes with that, a lot. And so a lot of things that probably go through our minds when we are out there in the unknowns went through my mind. Am I ready for this? Am I going to be successful at this? Do I know everything that I need to know to be able to be president of a company? Do I have the background that I need? So I questioned myself all night about that. And you know, the thing that I landed on is that God did not bring me this far to let me down. And he has been with me through so many other challenges and opportunities in my life and stretched me so far. I said, yes. In fact, I probably said, hell yes, I'm going to take this job. So I called back, and we had some conversations, you know, kind of went back and forth through that process. And then literally about 2 weeks later, I am back in Chattanooga, and the house that we had purchased in St. Louis, we're getting ready to put it on the market and sell it, because mind you all, I was there for 2 years. So we bought a house while I was there, had a house here in Chattanooga. So it was a pretty big stretch for us during those 2 years. And the best feeling ever to be able to come back home, but then also the most overwhelming feeling ever that I've ever had in my life, to be able to come back and to step in the footsteps of being president of an organization, something again that I'd never imagined for myself.
Yeah, I remember, I will never forget the day you made the announcement on Facebook, and I don't even know, I might have been in Atlanta. I was driving somewhere, and I read it, and all I remember is I screamed so loud, and the person I was with was like, what is, they thought something was wrong. They're like, what is wrong with you? I was just like, I gotta call her right now. So many people, like, that door opening for you, it was like a door opening for all of us.
Yeah.
Because what you, so for those of you that are listening, you already know that Val, you can tell Val is a woman of faith, a woman, she loves God. Like, he has been the one guiding her career. And I know all the statistics. I know that the amount of people that are in certain, the amount of women in certain leadership roles, and how hard it is when you get to certain levels and all of this. But it's stories like Val that show that God can do whatever he wants to do, when he wants to do it, how he wants to do it, and who he wants to do it for. And so I just remember being so like in awe of that jump, because you literally leaped levels. And the thing about it is, it happened, one, first and foremost, because of him. Two, it also happened because you were already operating at the president's level. So the one thing that we haven't had a chance to get into is Val is a people's leader. She not only loves people, but she knows how to lead people. She is the one that comes into the conversation, asking the right question, pushing people to the next level, all of those things. So, hey, Rhonda, thanks so much for joining. And so she was operating at that executive leadership level, even when she was in the HR director role. So they don't call you out of the blue just because they need someone to fill a position. They call the right person because they said, you know what? We can teach her the technical stuff. We can teach her the operations, but she's who we need as the face of the company, being able to lead and rebuild this team, being able to build this culture, all the things that she had demonstrated all along. And so I want to ask you tonight, as you look at the current role that you're in, for those of you that are in corporate America working and looking at how do I advance? Are you just fulfilling whatever is on the job description, whatever is on your performance rating, or are you operating already at the level where you desire to be? Are you operating already at the level that you desire to be? That's the question that I need you to answer. That's how that door opened up for her, because God was like, she's prepared. She can handle this. Then the COO was like, you know what? She's prepared. She can handle this. So now, 2 weeks time, you are back in Chattanooga, reunited with your husband, and you have this new role now as in handling the entire organization. Hey, Daphne. Hey. We got the whole team here. And her team is online saying we have the coolest boss. She is the coolest boss.
Well, I have the coolest team. I really do. I have the best team, hands down.
So, that warms my heart. Hey, Daphne. So now you're in this new role. It is bigger than anything you've ever done. Why don't you talk to us from the standpoint when you step into a new position, whatever level? Maybe for some people they're getting ready to be promoted to manager, they're getting ready to be promoted to director. Maybe they jumped several levels like you did and now they're president, but they're in this new role. Tell us about that transition, what you dealt with, and what you dealt with, and how you grew into that role successfully.
I will. And first of all, I want to say thank you, Daphne, for the shout out. And I think Monique was on here too, Spears. She's another one of our employees here at Tennessee American Water. And then I see Nicole has posted, hey, Nicole, she's one of my besties, and she just moved for a huge opportunity over to Charleston, South Carolina. And I'm just so proud and excited for her. I love seeing just women around me grow into what they love. So anyway, I just had to put that plug out there for them. And, you know, Melissa, what it is that I think about that for me, that's been, and I always go back to just kind of staying grounded into who I am and into my faith. But several things that I feel like that allowed me to be successful just in that first year, because that first year is so hard. It's going to make you or break you. It doesn't matter kind of what level you are and what role you are from an organizational standpoint. But I will go back to one of the things that I asked for whenever I talked with the COO when he called to offer me this job. And this is something that I knew that I needed in order for me to be successful. I needed a coach. I needed an executive coach that was going to be able to provide me with that outlet outside of everything that was going on at Tennessee American Water, that I could just kind of talk to and be there for me. And he said yes to that. That was a part of that, my ask. And so that's what brought Melissa and I together, outside of just the great friendship that we had, but to be able to have that coaching relationship, executive coaching relationship over the next 12 months that we spent together. And I do appreciate you, all those conversations you and I had, and you pushing back on me and me leaning into you, and just having someone. So I say all that to say, not everybody may be in a place that they can get an executive coach that the company can provide for them. but have someone there that's kind of an outlet for you that you can go to, a mentor, someone that you lean into that kind of helps keep you grounded. You don't need somebody that's a yes person that's going to agree with everything that you say. You need someone that's going to challenge you, someone that's going to push you and say, okay, well, have you thought about that from this perspective? Or have you thought about this from that perspective? And allow you to be able to think through and challenge yourself. So that's one thing that was just hugely helpful for me. The second thing is, and this kind of came out of a lot of conversations that you and I had, Melissa, but lean into your strengths and what got you there and not what you don't have. Because I feel like what we do a lot of times, and I'm going to say specifically as women, is that we, as women, we feel like we have to check all the boxes, cross all the T's, dot all the I's before we say yes to that opportunity. And you don't have to. It goes back to what you said earlier, Melissa, is that someone saw in me what they needed for the role, and that's what brought me into this role. Not the things that I did not have, but what they felt like that I had from a leadership standpoint. And so lean into your strengths and always allow that to be your guidance in regards to that kind of where you are from a success standpoint. The next thing is if you do have a team of people that report to you, and you have the ability to build up your team, surround yourself with great people. And I say this a lot, and whenever I'm talking, but it's so true. Surround yourself with people that are smarter than you. You don't want people on your team that are going to look like you, that talk like you, that sound like you, that say yes to everything that you say. You need individuals that are going to push back, but then also that you can learn from them. And that has been just awesome for me over the last several years. I continue to grow each and every day because I have so many great people around me on my team, and we're all growing. And then lastly is continue to network. You always want to have people in your corner that are basically vying for you, people that stretch you, people that are pulling you outside of your comfort zone, and not just people within your organization, but people within your community. And so continue to grow your network and keep, that diverse mindset at the forefront around surrounding yourself with people that do not look like you. And one of the biggest, I think, lessons that I learned early on was learn how to say no. Because when you are the rising star, it doesn't matter what role you're in. When you are the rising star and people know that you're going to get it done and you're going to knock it out of the park, you're going to be that person that's called on. And you're probably going to be called on a lot more than you need to be. So you have to be able to say no to things so that you don't overstretch yourself beyond your boundaries to where you're not effective and you're not performing at the level that you need to. So, I know I said a mouthful right there, so I'll kind of let that settle for a moment.
Yeah, no, I trust and believe that those that are watching are capturing nuggets and notes, either writing or typing it into their device, because it's just that important. There's so much in that, Val. One is that you knew that you couldn't do the role alone. You knew that you couldn't do the role alone. And like you said, for you were able to be in a position to get external help, such as an executive coach with the relationship that you and I have. Others, you were able to lean into, developing your team. I love one of the things that your boss, who's amazing, he's also a great mentor, so you basically surrounded yourself. And the transition that she made, because one of the things that women in leadership oftentimes do is when we get to certain levels, it becomes a confidence thing. So we get the achievement, then we question, do I belong in the room? We get the achievement, then we start to question, do I belong in the room? And so it could be not necessarily do I belong in the complete room, but Val went from HR leading, she knew that hands down, back of her hand, all of that. Now she has operations. She had never worked in operations. And so we literally had to have conversations about, listen, I get that you don't know it, but that's not why they hired you. We're going to learn that part. It's going to come over time. And so once she began, and I remember the last time we went to dinner when I was in Chattanooga, it was like you were a completely different person from from the vow 18 months before. You were so relaxed, so calm, so enjoying the space that you were in. And that is because I truly believe you started to lean into your strengths those last 18 months, and you did. We paused for just a second. So a phone call. Sorry about that. So you did what you knew how to do, which was lead people, develop people, grow people, and you leaned into the technical experts on your team, because you already have a director of operations who's amazing at what he does. You already have the Daphnes, on the team who are amazing at what they do. What they needed was someone like you to come in and say, how do we get to the next level? We can't get there without you. And we know the technical part. So I just want to encourage you with that as you are promoted. And Nicole, this is for you as well. With you watching, congratulations on your new role. But as you walk into new rooms with new people, you don't have to question whether or not you should be there, because you belong there. The thing about it is just leaning into the reason why you were brought there in the first place. So Val, what advice would you give? And this will be the last question, because I don't even know what time is it, y'all. We can talk all night. So what advice would you give for those? I'll ask you two questions. One, for those that are looking to elevate in their leadership into a new role, what advice would you give? Answer that first. And then for two, for those that are already in an executive leadership role and they want to be able to, maybe show up with more presence, or they're trying to just get acclimated to being in that space, what advice would you give? So those that are trying to elevate and those that are already there. Those will be the two questions we'll start to close out with. And before she answers that, if there are any questions, by all means, type them in the comments and we'll answer that after she answers the advice questions.
All right. So I'll start by, and some of this is going to be kind of a repeat in regards to what I said earlier. But for those that you're advancing in your career and you're at that point that you're asking yourself, what's next for me and what do I need to do? Again, first and foremost, do a self-evaluation of where you are. Do a self-evaluation of, do you feel like you're in the job that you're enjoying, that you want to do, and that you're having fun at? Because you want to be enjoying what you're doing day to day, and you're not miserable, because when you're not happy, it doesn't matter what you do, you're not going to just automatically wake up one day happy. So definitely make sure that you're in a position that you're enjoying what you're doing. You're going to have rough days, you're going to have tough days, but that comes with the territory. But overall, when you walk away from it, you're happy about that. And from that standpoint, ask yourself, so what's next for me? What's the next step? What do I want to do? And then you have to self-evaluate, what do I need to do to be able to get to that next level? Again, the investing in yourself is just so key. Do you feel like you need to go back to school, get that master's degree? Do you need to finish and get the bachelor's degree? Do you need to have a certification or a license that's going to allow you to be able to continue to educate yourself in that field that you're in from a knowledgeable standpoint? And then two, get advocates on your team. People that know you, they know what you bring to the table, because I know hands down that somebody was in that room talking about me when the decision was made for that phone call to come to offer me the HR director position, to offer me the president position. Somebody is in that room saying, I know Valerie can do this, and I know that she's going to be successful at this. So who are those people that are in your corner that you feel like are speaking for you when you are not in the room? And if you cannot name one person, then you have work to do. So those are things to be able to evaluate who's in your circle. And your circle doesn't just need to be that person that you're going to grab lunch with every day and y'all gossiping about what's happening in the office. That's cool, but that's not going to get you to the next level. So sit down and evaluate, who in my company do I need to know, but who do I want to know me? And then I'll end with this, is know your elevator speech. You never know when you're going to be able to be in the presence of the CEO of your company, the senior VP. Y'all are on the same elevator. What are you going to say to that person? Oh, how's the weather? No, you want to make sure that you have some type of substance to bring to that conversation. And it doesn't matter what that might be. It could be, I really enjoyed, what you said during the last meeting that we were at, that kind of inspired me. I'd love to know more about that. So something that's going to entice some conversation out of that person. So as you continue to grow in your career, just make sure that you are investing in yourself and you're just not settling for where you are. and know your value. And that'll
Mm-hmm.
take me into the next question of when you're at the executive level. And that executive level, which is very, very, very stressful. You have so much on your plate. You can't get burnt out because so many
Mm-hmm.
people are dependent upon you. When I go into the office in the morning, I have to have my cup of coffee. Everybody knows Valerie got to have her coffee, just my one cup. But you got to be on all the time because as soon as you hit that door, somebody needs you. Somebody needs you for something. And you just don't have that opportunity to be off. So it's important that when you're not in the office, that you're valuing your time that you have. Make sure that you have some type of stress reliever for yourself, be that exercising, something that you enjoy doing, reading. You have to have that balance. And that's something that Melissa and I talked about a lot during our time together, was making sure I had balance. And balance doesn't quite mean that you got to have 50-50 all the time, but it does mean that you have the amount of time that you need to get your rest in so that when you are there in the office that you're on. Don't feel like you need to know it all as an executive. Now, do you need to know all of what's going on relative to your organization? Yes, you do. But you don't need to know every intricate detail of what's happening day in and day out. And so that means that you have to have a relationship with your team. One of the things that I do that is so important for me is having my one-on-one time with my team members so that they know that they can sit down with me. It's on the calendar, it's scheduled, and we can talk about whatever's on their mind and whatever's on my mind. Now, that doesn't mean we don't do things outside of that one-on-one time, but I want to make sure that I have a relationship with them and understand what's happening with them because they're in stressful roles as well. So make yourself available as an executive. And then you also have to be flexible with your time. You're going to be pulled in so many different directions, being asked to be on boards, being asked to speak at events or whatnot. And you just have to make sure that you're spending it responsibly. I'll say you can't say yes to everything. So you have to say what's important, what's a priority for me now, and where do I need to be spending my time from an executive standpoint. And I end it by saying, I can't stress enough, surround yourself with the best people that know more than you do and always lean into them for their strengths and allow them to learn from you, but more importantly, ensure that you're learning from them.
Wow. So Angela said, great reminders, nuggets, and critical info to move your career forward. She's thankful, as I'm sure the rest of the audience is, and those that will watch the replay, and myself. Val, I am just beyond proud of you, and we don't even have time to like go into everything. She's been given so many opportunities. I remember. I think it was year one of the role. You had the opportunity. You've gone into keynote speaking and you keynoted. I think the audience was like 500 people or something, where you were able to share your story with the chamber, a big chamber event in Chattanooga. So many opportunities have come out of her just saying yes to herself and yes to her career and yes to her destiny. She doesn't like, when I bring this up, but I always, ask her, I'm like, okay, so are you getting ready for whatever may be next, wherever that is? Because that'll be another conversation that you'll have to have with Lawrence. But I know that she's too amazing. You guys have seen it. She's too amazing that there is a next. It may not be for 2 years, 5 years, or whatever, but I know for a fact the way that God has just looked out for her in this journey, that there is a next that she is preparing for. And so I don't see any questions, but if you have anything, feel free to type it in right now. But Val, before we close out, Portia said, thank you for the invitation. This is great information, very encouraging. She's looking for her next opportunity. So, maybe you be in Chattanooga, Portia, I don't know. But so I want to, as you guys have heard, the one thing why Courageous Conversations is so important for me, because it's not just about career. As you heard that Val is a woman of faith, I'm a woman of faith, and I truly believe that regardless of what people say and how she said call me and how people act, that he can move mountains on your behalf, mountains on your behalf in your career, in your business. And so Val, I know that there's amazing things ahead, and I would love to just pray with you. Before we close out the call, the live, whatever we're on tonight. I know the audience, many of them, are already followers, so I know they would, want to join in as well. So let's just close out in prayer. One of the things as we do that, I just want to encourage everyone to make sure that you add God into your career, into your role. You're not in it by yourself. You're not in the job search by yourself, Portia. You're not in it. And so alone. And so I want to encourage you the same way. Val's not just, out here by herself. Those types of stories, if you missed the testimony that she shared about how she got to where she's at in her career, by all means, go back and watch it. But, it doesn't just happen just for her. It is for you too. And so I remember being in the corporate world, being, in corporate, and then going to church on Sundays and going to church, and I wasn't able to ever blend the two. So, but this is my platform and my Facebook Live, so I can do whatever I want. So we about to pray for her and just what God is going to do in her career next. So.
And Melissa, can I say thank you to everybody that joined tonight, and Dee, Roland, I love you too. Thank you all for joining. I really appreciate the support from my Chattanooga and Cleveland family from joining tonight. I saw some family that logged in from New Jersey as well. And just for everybody else that, even though I don't know you, I hope that you were able to take some nuggets away. Find me on Facebook. I love to be your Facebook friend. I try to stay motivational and positive on my Facebook page. Inbox me if you have any questions about anything. And Melissa, thank you so much for the opportunity tonight. I have truly, truly enjoyed it. I've been like sitting up at the house all day. It was like so pumped and ready when I got home from work. And I was like, oh, I hope this works. I've never really done Facebook Live before. So, but thank you so much for the opportunity. I am so thankful. I am so blessed. God has just truly, truly placed so many things in my path and in my life that I never imagined for myself. And as I said earlier, hands down, I'm just thankful for my husband and everything that he's done to support me and be here with me throughout this journey.
Yes. All right, let's pray. Father, I just thank you so much for opportunities like tonight. I thank you for Val. I thank you for the day that she was born, and every day before tonight and every day thereafter. I ask, oh God, that you would I know that she's just been in awe of what you've done thus far in her life, but I know that there's more to come. I thank you that you would just do amazing, radical things in her life, in her marriage, in her career, in her role as president of Tennessee American Water. Bless her business, oh God. Bless whatever they have to do for goals this year. Allow every goal and the budget to be met in the name of Jesus. I ask, oh God, that it would even just go beyond what they've planned for, that miraculous things would happen in that area with their customers, with their clients, with the team, with the entire organization. Lord, I thank you that 2018 is an amazing year, and every year thereafter. Give her the desires of her heart. Equip her for where you're taking her next. Prepare her. And Father, we thank you for just all that you're doing, who she is, and where she is going. We pray for everyone that she touches, every conversation she has, every place that she goes, that people would literally be blessed by her presence, oh God, by the sound of her voice, by her smile, that she would literally transform lives in rooms unlike anything she's ever anticipated, that she'll just begin to even receive love notes and thank you notes from those that she's impacted along the way, even more than she already has, oh God. We thank you for tonight and everyone that has watched live and watched the replay. And we ask you have your way. Bless everyone that's watching. Bless their career. Bless where they're going. Increase their faith. Let them know that this story is not just for Val, but it is for them too. We love you, God. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
All right. Let's say good night, everybody. Thank you so much for joining. And Val, I already love you, and there's so much more to come. And for those of you that are watching, just CourageousLifeAcademy.com. If you want to learn more information, if you want to just see what coaching is all about, just fill out the coaching inquiry form. Know that what Val and I have, I can create that within your role and your career as well. All right. I'll talk to you soon. Have a good night, everybody. Amen.
Good night. Bye.
Good night.